Hello and welcome. Today, we're diving into a really powerful poem that basically flips our whole modern idea of wealth completely upside down. We're going to follow what one poet discovered about money, happiness, and what it really means to be rich.
It's the question, right? It's something we've all wondered about at some point. We're constantly told that success is all about the dollars and cents, but is that really the whole picture? What if the real answer is something we never expected?
So, our guide for today is a Welsh poet named William H. Davies. And let me tell you, he lived this question. He wasn't just sitting in a comfy chair theorizing about it. This guy spent years as a tramp, even lost a leg trying to hop a train, before he ever found literary success. So what he learned, that came from real, hard-won experience. Okay, so let's start where you'd think the story would end, with the money. But for Davies, this is actually where the trouble began. He got the wealth, and he was completely disillusioned, realizing that having money created this whole new kind of poverty. The poem just kicks off with this bombshell of a confession. Think about that irony. He had all the money, he had the status, but any kind of real, genuine joy? Nope, totally missing. It was only after he lost everything that he even began to find it. So, why was he so miserable? Well, because his money attracted what he calls the false man. And these weren't friends, they were opportunists. You know the type. People whose loyalty is tied directly to your bank account, not to who you are as a person. This idea of a gilded cage just captures it perfectly. His wealth wasn't freedom at all. It was a prison. It completely isolated him from any real human connection. And the second that gold plating disappeared, poof, so did all his so-called friends. And this is where things really start to shift. After he loses his fortune, Davies feels a totally different kind of pain. It wasn't just about being poor. It was about being silenced. It was the pain of knowing a huge truth that he felt like he couldn't share with anyone. Wow, what a powerful image, right? He feels like a little kid holding a trumpet that he's forbidden to play. It just perfectly captures that feeling of total frustration and helplessness, having something so important to say, but being forced to keep quiet. And, of course, the trumpet isn't just a trumpet. It's a metaphor for his voice, for the truth he wanted to scream about, all the hypocrisy he'd seen. It really represents that authentic self that society, often pressures us to hide away. So he was completely trapped. He knew that the world of the wealthy was fake, but he was scared to say it out loud. And why? Because society judges you when you're poor. He was afraid of being dismissed, of being looked down on. So he kept that trumpet silent. But you know what's interesting? It's in that silence that he starts to really see. Once he's lost everything, he begins to observe the world of the poor. And what he finds there is nothing short of a revelation. He discovers a totally different and much more profound kind of wealth. He starts noticing that even though these people have so little, in many ways they seem to have so much more. They laugh, they find real satisfaction in their daily work, and they have what he calls light hearts. There's this authentic joy and dignity that was just completely missing from his old life of riches. And this line, it's just beautiful. He describes the sound of their work not as this terrible chore, but as a rhythmic, busy, and almost joyful hum. Like bees. They're productive, they're working hard, but there's a kind of music to it, a real sense of purpose. All right, so now we have these two completely separate worlds laid out. Let's really put them side by side, because this is how Davies built his whole argument, through this direct moral contrast. Look at this. The difference is night and day. On one side, you've got the rich, who coldly frown, totally cut off from real feelings. And on the other, you have the poor, who laugh and have light hearts. This isn't just about money. It's about warmth, about empathy, about moral character. So this is the absolute core of the poem's argument. What Davies is suggesting is that material wealth actually builds walls. It cuts people off from what's real. But poverty, in this strange way, it tears those walls down. It forces you to rely on something more authentic, real human connection. And all of this brings us to the poem's incredibly powerful conclusion. After seeing both of these worlds, what did Davies finally figure out? What is life's real currency? He basically realized that life has this kind of built-in friendship filter. Wealth just clogs up the filter with a bunch of fake people. But hardship? Hardship is what cleans it out. His poverty was the ultimate test that showed him who was really there for him, not for his money. It got rid of all the noise and left only the truth.
So the big takeaways here are just as powerful today as they were 100 years ago. A big bank account does not guarantee happiness. Hardship can be an incredible teacher. And maybe most importantly, emotional wealth. That richness you get from true friendship and connection. That is the real key to a happy life. And really think about it for a second. In our world with social media and this constant pressure to buy the next new thing to be happy, a message like this from over a century ago feels incredibly urgent, doesn't it? More relevant than ever.
So at the end of the day, the poem kind of leaves us with a challenge. It's asking us to look past all the stuff, all our possessions, and really think about who we are. If you strip all of that away, who are you? And maybe more importantly, who's still standing right there next to you?
And that's the final thought I want to leave you with. In a world that's so obsessed with counting what's in our bank accounts, maybe the real challenge is figuring out how to count what's truly in our hearts.